the sound effects, so I'll just say, hey, welcome to this week's Israel Update with Hanok Young, live from Modi'in. You want to do some sound effects?
Sure.
No, don't. No.
Israel update time. It's Israel update time. I really shouldn't dance back and forth because people are going to get seasick, and then they're going to have to take Dramamine before our broadcasts. Today is unusual. It's not Wednesday. It's Tuesday.
That's
Boy,
right.
we're really thrown
Yeah.
crazy. That's because you're so busy traveling, Mike.
Yeah. I've got another travel schedule this week. I'm heading up to Revive. I'll be going up there Wednesday. And by the way, those that would be waiting for Barry and myself to do a Foundations for Life, we're going to be taking a little vacation this week on that because Barry is driving in to Revive from Gloucester, Virginia, about 10 hours. So we're going to be meeting up, and Barry, myself, our son Daniel, and Kathy and my son Daniel. Let me put the right English there. And Catesby, his wife, they're coming in, and so I have another weekend with the youth. Wow, kind of crazy here, but that's what life is here lately, is speaking to youth. And I went back up to the camp here, just for
Right.
a little while, spend a few minutes with those guys, just to say goodbye. And wow, it was over the top amazing. I've never had a group hug of about 150 people, and it was humbling, very, very humbling. So looking forward to a great time this week. So you were gracious enough, for once in your life, I can use the word gracious with your name, to move it over to Tuesday so we can record. And let's start out with, I saw a great headline this morning that some of your politicians, specifically your ambassador to the United States and United Nations, has said that Biden is a great friend of Israel. You know, Hanok, you guys ought to check your friendship calendar.
Well, this guy, Gilad Erdan, who was appointed by Netanyahu to be both the ambassador to the US and the UN, 2 days ago submitted his resignation to Prime Minister Bennett that he doesn't want to be ambassador to the US anymore. So pretty much whatever he says, you could just discount because he's out.
So he didn't like the Barney, he probably didn't like the Barney costume, so decided to change jobs.
Well, kind of is what it is. He was a political appointee of Netanyahu. That former administration is not in vogue here at all. And, we had our foreign minister, Yair Lapid, meet with Blinken recently. Prime Minister Bennett is going to be going to the US soon. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here. And it's amazing when your government has not been functioning for years, that, like for instance, that we recently found out that there were absolutely no policies and procedures in place at Ben Gurion Airport.
Yeah.
So quarantine was required, wasn't enforced, and we're kind of, wading through the yogurt again, once again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that leads us to something of a period of time that that Israel is entering into, that we want to take. It will be looked at by many people of looking to the past. And interesting enough, as you sent me a text or email or dog sled message, whatever it was, about looking forward. And I stated this at Revive last year on a message I did on longing for home, that it's very hard to move forward when you're looking in the rearview mirror all the time. And
absolutely.
That's not a statement that came from me. That's actually a statement that was made by a mutual acquaintance of ours in Israel. as he was talking about, and this guy is a Jew, okay, so I'm not, this is, you know, I'm not out of step here, but his statement was that as the land of Israel, as the state of Israel has been established, that it is time to begin to look through the windshield and not the rearview mirror. And that has been, so much of that has been done. So how do we take that and move it into this 3-week period leading up to the 9th of August?
Okay, this past Sunday was the 17th of Tammuz, Shivara Saba Tammuz. That is the start of the 3-week period. This is the time in history where the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem, leading up to the 9th of Av, when the Second Temple was destroyed. By the way, on the Hebrew calendar, the 9th of Av was actually my due date. When my mother, Alea Shalom of blessed memory, was pregnant with me. She gave birth a few days earlier. My Hebrew birth date is the 4th of Av. This is a time of a semi-mourning period when we are supposed to, I'm choosing my words carefully, which is very difficult for me, supposed to be reflecting on our behavior, specifically our hatred and fighting amongst ourselves, which led, I mean, you know, people have to remember when the Romans were at the gates, we were busy slaughtering each other in a civil war simultaneously. Okay, there are two distinct approaches to the 17th of Av, 17th of Tammuz.
Yeah.
One is, you know, it's kind of, well, we do these elements of the semi-mourning, and we fast on the 17th of Av, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm glossing over it very quickly.
Okay.
Why? Because there's another element that says, come on now, 73 years ago, in prophetic fulfillment, the state of Israel, in its original space, not all of it, but in its original space, speaking the original language, with the original people returning, not all there yet. This is a time when it's not just to reflect back, but to really, really look forward. You can view that glass as half empty, the sorrows, the tears, or you can look at it as, look how we're filling it.
Yeah.
And that's a really important element. And, you know, there's too much of the kind of woe is me, almost like a love us, we're losers kind of approach to things, when we need to be saying, look at all that we've accomplished.
Oh.
We have so much more to go. And what's fascinating is this coming weekend is the Revive Conference where you'll be speaking. Now, I have to tell you, if I had to send one person, one advocate for Israel, one ambassador for Israel from anywhere in the entire world, I would send you, Mike. Now, I know you're thinking, well, easy for you to, you know, set my GPS and point me in the right direction. But you know what I'm saying, particularly because you'll be speaking to the youth. What is special about the young people in the Hebrew Roots movement? In my opinion, there's an enormous amount. First of all, most of them have never been thrown out of a mainstream church.
Yeah.
They don't have an axe to grind. They don't have, hopefully not, built up resentment towards the church they used to belong to or the church their family, you know, grew up in. That gives them a tremendous advantage in relating to the neighbors. You know, a constant problem that people seem to have when it comes time, let's say, well, Erasmus time, where all the resentments that they have from having been in mainstream Christianity seem to boil over.
Yeah.
It's time, and I know you're going to say it's easy for me to say, but it's time to get past that. Most people will not be able to get past that. And that's why we turn to the younger generation. The one that grew up thinking that Shabbat was a natural, normal part of the week. That the Chagim, the holidays, the feasts were natural and normal. Now, it may be that they didn't grow up their entire life like this, but they've come to understand it. You know, they're not sitting there saying, wow, man, if I could just have some Canadian bacon on that sandwich, it would be amazing. My personal preference was always Canadian bacon and not the regular sizzly, crackly, fatty stuff. But that's just me. What can I tell you? Something else we may or may not have in common.
That's true. Well, I don't like Canadian bacon, but that was my preference. And we had a great time there. That we got most of. I think we got everything you said, but you had a great look on your face when the camera froze up. That's what happened.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I always do, don't I? That's funny.
You know, it is kind of amazing to look at this generation, and I think maybe for some of us there would be a bit of envy. You know, they don't know what it's like to be a part of some of the things that I was, though there was some good memories in the midst of that. But you know, you look back at it and say, okay, my good memories don't make what I was doing right in the eyes of the Almighty. So we've moved past that. I can tell you that with the youth, though, there has been and I'm guilty probably of some of this. There's been this end times message that they lived with. The generation that I'm speaking to, some of them were alive barely, is in diapers during Y2K. They've gone through so much, in the last 20 years. We're coming up on the anniversary of 9/11. For many of the youth, they don't remember. Okay, they were too young to remember. People will be asking the question, where were you when you saw that? Well, I know exactly where I was. I was standing in Colorado, at home in Colorado. We have a group of youth that has been raised with the idea that everything's going to end tomorrow. And so I've already talked to Barry, to Daniel, to Catesby about this, that we're not coming into Revive with the fear of the future, but we're going to focus on the hope of the future.
Exactly.
I want to give these young people a hope that they have been placed here at this time, to overquote the words of Esther, for such a time as this,
right?
That these young people have been raised up for right now. I tell you what, Hanok, coming out of the Camp Mashiach in Whittier, you would have been overwhelmed. I was. I was. I mean, you would have been literally standing in the back with tears rolling down your cheeks because to see these young people, the passion, but to hear them speak was amazing. Was amazing. The leadership that they're already showing in this day. So I'm just honored to be a part. And so with the 9th of Av coming up, yes, there's aspects of this date destruction of First Temple, Second Temple, Columbus, leaving, that was actually postponed. We have the
Right.
Hitler during the time of the Shoah did some things regarding that date. Also, the Gaza pullout was originally stated for uh, the 9th of Av. It was
Right. And it wound up right afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, and look what has happened. I mean, look what's happened from there. But all of these things have happened to propel us forward, and that's where we need to focus.
That's the key learning.
Yeah.
That's the key learning. It's got to propel us forward. It's got to guide our actions, because the entire Tanakh, the entire Hebrew Bible, is filled with hope.
Mm-hmm.
The promise of restoration, the promise of return. This is what we're about. So to sit and mourn without committing yourself to working towards a better future, it's if you can't say, I am going to do something better
Mm-hmm.
today, tomorrow, next week, next month, to create a better reality, then you know what? Just pack it up and just go play video games.
Yeah, yeah. There's an interesting concept of something. I'm a firm believer, as you know, that creation teaches us about the things of the Almighty. Um, many people have made the mistake of taking the words of the scripture, walking into a room, into a building, and trying to teach these words within the four walls of a building. When you
Yeah.
do that, you take out so much of what the true meaning is, because creation will teach us. And there's a wonderful illustration of this that happens up in the hills of Ephraim, and that is the briars. You've been up there. I've been up there. I've been up there with the vineyards, and you get in those sticker bushes, those briars, and you're going to come out with cuts all over you. But how do you get rid of the stickers? And the stickers are those sticker bushes, those briars are to me an illustration of the past. How do you get rid of them? Well, you can stand there and pray against them; they'll still grow. You can start pulling them out, and they'll grow back. But there's one way that's so easy to get rid of all of those briars in the hills of Ephraim, and that is to plant trees, because those briars cannot grow in shade. They only grow in direct sunlight. So if we plant trees, and that's an illustration of what do we do in life? We can either try to deal with the past and pull it out and pray against it and all of those things, or we can plant life, and in doing so move forward. So that's just a little aspect of the land there that I find fascinating.
No, it's and it's such a key lesson. And I hope that these younger folks at Revive and around us in general will work and focus towards building their communities, coming to Israel, experiencing it. You just the same way. It just speaks to you on a whole different.
Yeah. And we
This is a generation that needs. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You're back.
And understand that the inspiration has to.
Well, our internet is not cooperating very well. You said this is a generation that needs inspiration. I think is what you said.
Then I said, and that inspiration has to be followed by perspiration, work, effort.
Yeah, well, anybody that's ever been up to the hills of Ephraim and done anything's done some perspiration, no doubt about that. So yeah, the 9th of Av. Let's approach these days as with hope of we are in a day of restoration. And we talk about the land of Israel so much, Hanok. Every time that we discuss the land, of course, it's a bittersweet thing for me. Not being able
I
to
know.
and not being able to be there during this time. Um, we're having to make a decision probably in the next week or so regarding Connect Israel Tour 2021. I can tell you for those that are signed up, it's not looking real good. We're holding out to the last minute here that we possibly can to try to figure this thing out. But Bezrat Hashem, God willing, with His help, it will be soon.
No, for sure.
Be opened up, and not just opened up to be able to visit, but be opened up in such a way that we can share in the inheritance of the land.
Well,
The scripture gives us two things. As we look in the Torah, there are two things that it says that regarding the covenant are our inheritance. Number one is the Torah itself, and number two is the land of Israel. Both are part of the covenant. You cannot have the covenant and divorce yourself from one or the other.
and then that takes us right back to talking about the younger people again, who can commit themselves to living a life without the anti-Semitism that many of their parents' congregations, just nurture all the time. And it's a chance to build fresh relationships and restore the family, the restoration of all of Israel based upon mutual respect.
Yeah. Mutual respect. Boy, what a crazy term that is for our day, is to walk in mutual respect. Well, I think I lost Hanok. Yeah, he's gone. So internet connection is pretty bad both in there he is. Hey, he's back, or at least he's on his way back. We're seeing if Hanok's going to be there. Yeah, I'm filling space, folks, filling space until we see if we can get this connection. And it does not look like it's going to happen. So with that, appreciate your prayers for myself, for Barry Phillips, for Daniel and Catesby, as we're working with the youth and also with the adults. That this time at Revive would be, hey, there he is, he's back. But just asking for prayer for people for this weekend, for this time during Revive. We have the last I heard, we have 965 people registered. Yeah, crazy. So are you able to turn you're muted, Hanok?
Yeah. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah. Wow, if it was only that easy.
Okay,
so the question that everyone is trying, if only, yeah. The question that everyone is just, has been asking for the last 20 something minutes is your shirt. The only thing we can see about your shirt is what would, and so, okay, what would
Goggins do?
Goggins.
It's a reference to David Goggins. And if you are under 18, ignore that. language that he uses, he's very motivational, but the language that he uses is something that I grew up with in the Bronx. And y'all don't hear that.
So we probably will not. I would not suggest anyone do a YouTube search regarding this. Just kind of let Hanok. That's it. So, all right.
Let go of the God. Yeah.
All right. Closing words of inspiration.
This is an opportunity. We're not the generation that's doomed to die off the desert. We can make a difference, and it's resting on us. Don't look heavenward. We've already gotten the marching orders. We already know what we need to do. Let's do it.
Okay, good ending. I can deal with that. All right, folks, sorry about the internet connections. Of course, why should I be apologizing for it? Because I don't control it, but it is what it is there. So, at least we do have this connection, as spotty as it is at times, to connect with Israel on a weekly basis. So, hello, blessings. We'll talk soon.
You too, my regards. Bye-bye.